So down there, that little patch of land there, that's the park where I was using my scooter to go around to show you underneath the bridge. I think I did that this past summer. That's somewhere on there. So it's an interesting perspective. That's all the Palisades, the amazing cliffs. All right, so it's a little bit warmer than it's been lately. So I'm out here walking around the city. I actually decided to come onto the George Washington Bridge to give you an interesting perspective. Most people, even if they're on the bridge, they're doing 40 or 50 miles an hour, so they don't really get a chance to see how interesting it is up here. My destination is actually underneath the bridge. There's actually a lighthouse, a little red lighthouse that's under the bridge. It's been there for many, many decades. I believe it was 1920s it was put here. Before the bridge even. The bridge was built over top of the lighthouse. And it was really made famous from a book that was published in 1942, a children's book called The Little Red Lighthouse and the Great Gray Bridge. So check this out. This is kind of cool. Kind of hard to see. They're working on it, but it goes way down there. I wish I could show you. It's kind of hard to see, but they have it pretty well blocked off, so they don't want people, jumpers or people to fall. But I believe that's an elevator. I've never actually seen this lighthouse in person. I've only seen it in pictures and from you could see it from the West Side Highway. It's really hard to find parking, so if you're planning to come here, definitely check that out because there's really nowhere to park. It's within a park, but there's only a very few amount of parking spots. Much easier if you're walking, that's for sure. All right, so as you come off the bridge, the lighthouse is it's down there. It's beyond those buildings, so I got to figure out how to get down there. It's kind of a weird setup here. It's just a maze of bridges and roads and buildings and pathways, and I'll figure it out. All right, so this takes us down here past everybody who for some reason just doesn't want to pick up after their dogs, so everybody else has to step in it, obviously. The object is to get as low as possible because this is down by the water. I'm telling you, it's really strange. It's really difficult to get to this thing. Walking down underneath these bridges definitely takes you to some, we'll say, less cared for areas. Yeah, a lot of times these places can be a little shady. Like that, where I was just walking up there, that's all blocked off. I had no idea at the time. Anyway. Alright. Nothing down here. But for sure people would be down here. This is what I was telling you. It's like a maze of like bridges and ramps and roads and tunnels. And a lot of them, there's no shoulder. You can't just like walk down them like a normal area. There's no sidewalk. This area is so old too. It's so interesting. They built all this so long ago in the 1920s. All right, now we're close. So well, we're kind of close. Got to walk through this. I guess it's a trail. I don't know. There might be a better way to go, but this is the way that I'm finding. So that goes up that way. Okay, so we're going to go down this way. Yeah, it's kind of like no man's land out here. And I think that's the park right there. Boy, it looks like they just recently cleared all this out. Like all the trimmings are still kind of laying all around, and I'm sure this was almost impassable recently. Hopefully I find a better way to get out of this maze and back up onto the regular streets up there. Alright, yeah, I was right. I had to get down to this biking trail. Well, now it's covered by the little trees, but you'll see it. It's really small. I mean, the thing is tiny. Came out of Sandy Hook. I believe they retired it in 1917 or something like that. There it is. Wow. I'll tell you what, if you have never seen the George Washington Bridge up close, or even any big bridge, even like the Golden Gate Bridge, it is truly amazing. The Little Red Lighthouse wasn't always here. In 1880, it was erected on New Jersey's Sandy Hook to guide ships into New York Harbor. By 1917, it had become obsolete, so it was dismantled and put into storage. In 1921, it was reassembled here to warn boats about the dangerous spot of shoreline called Jeffrey's Hook. The rocky outcropping of Jeffrey's Hook has always been a hazard for boats on the Hudson River at night. In 1889, a red warning light was set up on wooden poles, but a better light and audible warning for boats in fog were needed. In 1921, the Coast Guard reassembled the lighthouse here with the name Jeffrey's Hook Light. It is constructed of 48 cast iron plates and stands 40 feet tall. It is the southernmost lighthouse on the Hudson River and the only lighthouse on Manhattan Island. So within 10 years of it being put here, they built this monstrous bridge over top of it, effectively making it obsolete for the second time in its life, because there were a large amount of lights on the bridge, and so it was no longer needed. In 1947, the Coast Guard decommissioned the lighthouse and its light was extinguished. In 1951, the Coast Guard proposed to dismantle the lighthouse, but the public protested with an outpouring of letters to officials, largely because of the lighthouse was a beloved character of the 1942 children's book. So the campaign to save the lighthouse was successful, and on July 23rd, 1951, it came under the jurisdiction of New York City's Department of Parks and Recs. Nobody ever lived in it, but a part-time attendant ran the light. Jeffrey's Hook Light used a blinking acetylene lamp focused by a fifth-order Fresnel lens of cut glass prisms and a fog bell to warn navigators away from the shore. This was pretty dangerous to boats back in the day, in the 1800s into the 1900s. I don't want to say turn of the century. I said turn of the century one time in a video, and somebody was like, oh, we're almost a quarter into the next century. Well, yeah, but I'm obviously not talking about 2000. This is 1900. That was a real issue. And so they needed something here. It'd be kind of neat to see inside it, but there's this here. Built in 1921, here at least, decommissioned in 1932. Originally known as Jeffrey's Hook Lighthouse, it stands 28 feet above high water and had a candle power of 10, immortalized. Candle power of 10, yeah. Immortalized in the children's book, The Little Red Lighthouse, and the Great Gray Bridge. So if you have any kids, got to pick that book up. You can read on that book, and then you can show them my video, and you can say, this is the real thing here. This is what it looks like. Look at this. To be honest with you, I like New York City a lot more in the summertime. It's still interesting, but I don't know. I'd become more of a fair weather person, a summer person. I always thought that I would, as I got older, I would become more of a winter person. Just the idea of just having a shop or a garage, doing some woodworking or working on cars or something in a nice warm garage, which still appeals to me. But when it comes to being outside, it's just, I don't know. I don't love it. All right, I made it all the way back up, and this is back up to, I don't know what road this is, what street, but we'll call it Civilization. Whew. Long climb. Just in time to catch a little bit of the sunset on the bridge. Pretty cool. All right, that's it for today's video. I'm getting out of here. Gonna go get something to eat. See you in the next video.